Welcome. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Mom Project's Mentor Power Hour. I am Knefra Carter, and I'm excited to be with you guys today and moderate our discussion with Senior Managing Director Paula O'Reilly and Senior Manager Project and Program Management Jesse Eastman of Accenture. Welcome, you guys. I'm so excited for this conversation. Our
Thank
Mentor
you.
Power our Mentor Power Hour event series provides our talent community with access to incredible leaders across our employee partner network in a unique and intimate discussion. In today's session, you'll learn about Accenture's company mission, culture, current career opportunities. We'll discuss the importance of mentorship, challenges and opportunities of working with moms, parents navigating their careers after a career pause and beyond. I have a special place in my heart for Accenture. I work so closely with them. I know what an incredible company they are. So before we get started, I want to go over a few housekeeping notes. This session will be recorded and shared afterward with everyone who registered. So thank you so much for registering and being here. We'll have time for audience questions near the end. Please leave your thoughtful comments and questions in the chat box and we will get to you. So we're going to get started. And I want you guys to tell us a little bit about yourselves. I'll start with you, Paula.
Sure. So first off, thanks so much for having us. We've been looking forward to this discussion. And I'm Paula O'Reilly. I'm a senior managing director at Accenture. I'm actually relatively boring because I've worked here for 29 years. I graduated from college. The next week I started, and I just crossed my 29-year anniversary. I've always worked in banking and more recently in expanded to capital markets and insurance. Today, I oversee our Midwest business and financial services, and I also am the office managing director of our Columbus office. So while I've had a lot of varied roles that I've done at Accenture over that time, when I just put it out that way, 29 years in banking here at Accenture, it sounds kind of boring, but it's been great fun.
No, it sounds like an incredible ride. And it says a lot that you've been there for 29 years. So I'm hoping we get to revisit that. And can you tell us a little about you, Jesse?
Yes, hi. Good afternoon, everyone. Nice to be with you, and thank you for having me. So I started at Accenture 10 months ago. Prior to that, I had 10 years of experience in logistics technology, and then found my way to Accenture to join a practice called Delivery Excellence. And when I found out about what that was, I got so excited because I've had a passion for project management my whole career. And coming to Accenture has really enabled me to take it to the next level size projects, programs, deliverables, team sizes, budgets, the whole thing. So it was kind of like a dream come true, like, wow, I can do an entire job just on this. So it's been a lot of fun. And I'm glad to be here with you today.
That is incredible when you find your place, right? That's a good feeling. So I do want to ask, so now we've heard a little bit about you both. How did you uncover your professional paths and your purpose? And how did it lead you to where you are today? So Paula, because you've been with the company 29 years, you've got to discover your passion within Accenture's walls. Can you share with us what that was like for you?
Sure. So in some regards, I kind of fell into it. I didn't know really what I wanted to do when I graduated college, and Accenture, at the time it was Anderson Consulting, offered me a job. And I took that job on the basis of things would continually be changing. And it was true. And I wouldn't have stayed 29 years if I haven't enjoyed it. But I would say it's the learning and the growing and doing new things on a regular basis, which is what has kept me here so long. People always say the people. I do love the people. I can't say that. I can say I love my coworkers. I like working with clients, and from a purpose perspective, that developed over time. And it's not necessarily banking is my purpose, or working in financial services industry, but helping the people that I work with in that industry, and helping my clients be more successful at what they're doing. So not only am I learning and growing, but so are my clients, and then they in turn are able to do better things for their customers, whether it be in the retail space. We've all, evolved in our banking and how we've banked over the last 29 years, from walking into a branch to conduct business to being able to now do it all almost exclusively on our phones, and what that journey has meant and how it's impacted all of us who work in the industry and our clients in the industry. So it was a journey over time to find that and to figure that out. But it certainly wasn't, I started there. It's something that's evolved and I've figured out over time.
That's understandable. I think that's what a career is. It's a journey, right? And Jesse, same question. How did you find your purpose and it led you to Accenture?
Yeah, so great question. I worked all 4 years of college, right? So my parents, they gave me a budget and not a dollar more. And so I looked at the budget and I realized, okay, I got to get a job. And so, it kind of put this sense of responsibility in me from a very young age. And I really found a great job. I worked in a luxury real estate office as an executive assistant and found like a passion for, managing projects there. And really, really enjoyed that. And then I found my way to logistics. I had a friend who said, you would be perfect for logistics. And meanwhile, I had gone to college to get a degree in education. So I was like, trucks, teaching, like, how does this connect? And so, I took the chance, I took the interview, and I went and actually found an amazing career in logistics technology. So, I spent 10 years there helping build processes, teams of people, and technologies that all centered around matching carriers who had trucks with customers who had freight. Before Accenture, I actually founded a company and ran that for 3 years. And since this is the Mom Project, I will tell the real truth, which is that I raised money when I was 8 months pregnant and did my first transaction like 3 days after my son was born. So, it was a crazy time. But, you said the question is how'd you find your professional path and your passion? And that's really my story. And then I joined Accenture. And what's been so interesting for me about Accenture is that it is an extremely enormous company. And there's so many opportunities, like Paula mentioned, there's so many opportunities to make an impact, to make a change, to change the way something is done, and really to add value to our clients and then transform the way they do business with their customers. So it's really exciting. And it's kind of like this playground of opportunity where you can work with many, you can specialize like Paula, where she specializes in the banking space and has done many different programs there. Or you can be more of a generalist like me, where I focus on delivering different types of projects and different programs. And that's kind of the specialization that I take and the approach that I take to my career. So, it's interesting having gone from medium-sized company to a startup, and then to a very large enterprise. But the size of Accenture really requires that you bring that entrepreneurial spirit with you to figure things out. It's not always written down. It's not always perfect, and so you kind of have to bring that spirit with you here. So it's been a lot of fun.
And I love that you raise capital. It's your first transaction after your baby was born. Like, if that's not the power of mom, right? Right there in a nutshell. And I love that your journey had so many curves and pivots. And that's encouraging to our mothers and moms out there, both stories, that no matter what your trajectory looks like, there's room for you at Accenture to either be a generalist or to specialize or do anything that you're passionate about within those walls. So that is an incredible story. Thank you both for sharing. So I would love, and we would all love, to hear about how Accenture ensures diverse representation and career opportunities for women of color, and most importantly, our moms. And I'm going to just throw a little nugget in there because I've worked so closely with Accenture. I know how impactful they are in making room, speaking out, being a voice for underrepresented communities. Like, you guys do incredible work in those areas. So I want to hear from you guys. Like, what does that look like? Oh, and can we just say that you guys were named #1 and Diversity Inc.'s most diverse place to work. Like that's something, that's a nod. So just wanted to throw that in there too.
Thank you. So that is true, and we are very proud of that. And I feel like we've worked hard at that. All of us have. As Jesse was indicating, we have almost 700,000 people that work in our company. It's a huge global company, but yet somehow we seem to be able to take it down into smaller pieces that make it feel like it's not that huge. Our CHRO, Ellen Shook, says we are a culture of cultures, and we are cultures that blend together and work towards those goals. And I really do believe that is true. And then the award that you mentioned is, it's very much a nod to that. But when you get down to the brass tacks, I mean, the one thing that we do is that we measure it and then we publish our measurements. So we have goals around gender diversity, around ethnicity diversity, and we've made commitments to levels that we're going to meet. And it's not behind a curtain, it's out in the public. We're very clear about what those goals are, the progress that we're making against those goals, and how we're working to achieve them. So, that's how it is. It's very transparent. So I think that is an excellent base to start from. Then you go more into the culture of, okay, then how do you make it happen? Because we could hire, 50% women, 50% men, and it's equal. But if there's not a culture that supports that, it's not really going to do you any good. And there are a lot of different ways that we support diversity. So one that's near and dear to me is that I oversee our women's employee resource group, and helping give women the tools that we think that they need to help them be more successful. We also do education around what does it mean to be a male ally? What's the value of mentorship versus sponsorship? Why are they different? And how can you make use of both? All of those sorts of things that you would expect in a way that we hope is reaching a large number of our women, whether they be junior, whether they be senior, whether they start the day after they graduate, or the day that they start with Accenture, or whether they're an experienced hire like Jessie, who came in and had a huge amount of experience that she wanted to bring to us. And how do we make sure we're making use of that and not discounting her experience that came before she was what she was at Accenture? So the employee resource groups, and that we have other ones as well. There's gender-based, there's ethnicity-based, there's faith-based, all the different types of groups where people who identify together can get together and can share their stories and share their tips, techniques, and everything for success. And then the last point that I would bring is that over the last few years, all of our consciousness has been raised around bringing diverse teams leads to diversity of thought, which leads to better outcomes for our clients. And that is really right back to the purpose. Well, if my purpose is to help my clients be better and to do better, bringing them a diverse team with diverse thought is going to help them have a better answer. And that's very much become part of the mainstream, the rule, not the exception. And I think that is what's really helping us if our purpose is to serve our clients, then we better be bringing diversity of thought to get them the very best answer.
I love all of that. I think that is so important. Thank you for sharing that and highlighting the diversity within your walls. Not only that you pride yourself on making these diverse hires, but that you also create a culture where they feel seen, valued, and represented. So that's so important. You said something that stuck out to me, and that is mentorship and sponsorship. And I'm going to go off a little bit on our path because I want our audience to understand, our group of moms and our allies, what is the difference between a mentor and a sponsor?
Jesse, I'll start, and maybe you can pile on. But I look at it very simply as a mentor is someone who's helping to coach me and give me advice as to what I should do, shouldn't do, etc. A sponsor is telling other people about what I've done and what I could do and the next best role for me. They could be both. A mentor and a sponsor could be the same person. They could be giving me that advice as well as sponsoring me to other people and helping me succeed that has nothing to do with giving me advice. And so that's to me is one is very internal to me, someone helping me versus someone helping me on the more external side of what is happening. And both are very important. Certainly having someone who you trust, you can bring a question to and say, hey, how would you approach this? I don't know what to do. Or I'm thinking about option A or option B. What do you think? You trust that person is going to provide advice based on their background, what they've learned over the years, their experiences, which is very different though than Jesse. I am going to go talk to my boss about how fabulous you are and how I think you deserve a promotion, a raise, a new role that's going to elevate you in the company. Obviously I have to know you to say that. So I may very well be your mentor and we've had lots of discussions, but the sponsorship component is like that extra mile of I am going to say, you are really good at what you do, and I'm going to support you, sponsor you into the next right thing.
Yeah, and I totally agree. And the magic is when you can find your sponsor and your mentor in the same person. But it's not always the case, right? You have to build a board of people around you, of support. And you want to make sure, like Paula brought up, if your name gets brought up in a talent conversation, that, if there's 20 people in that room running the conversation, hopefully 5 or more of those people know your name. And now, are all of those people your mentor? Not necessarily, but it's about, building your network and knowing who the decision makers are. And so it's very important to have a mentor who can really spend the time with you and help you stretch and take you to the next level. But it's equally as important to make sure you have the sponsorship, you've connected with those people, even lightly, right? There's different degrees of networking and relationships, but it's definitely important to make sure you're building a bench of both. Great question.
And that is important, I think, for women to have both mentors and sponsors. Like, we need women or other people who will mention our name in rooms that we may not have access to. So now that you've both shared what those things look like, can you tell me how they played a role in your journey and where you are today? How did having a mentor, a sponsor, impact you? And what would you share about that? And we'll start with you, Paula.
Sure. So I had a boss who was 100% sponsoring me. And I didn't, I would probably say, yeah, she was a mentor, certainly along the way, but she really didn't give me a ton of advice. But I worked directly for her, and I may have stayed in my same job and not continued to grow and advance if she wasn't pushing me to do more and sponsoring me to other people within the organization on how I could do, that next bigger role. And I look at, people today and I think about, well, I was in that same position as that person was. And why have I gone this way and they have gone that way? And it's 100% to me because of that sponsorship that I received. But I take it back to Jesse's point. They're not always the same person. This particular person would give me advice. It was less me asking. It was more her telling me, which is a little bit different. I'm not complaining. It was not bad whatsoever. But it was less of a mentorship relationship. But she provided such sponsorship for me that it pushed me to do more, to continue to grow, to learn, to step out of my comfort zone that I might not, I'm going to go with I would not have done without that little bit of an extra push. And, there are plenty of people who do great work and could do great things that haven't advanced as much. And I truly believe I was able to make that journey because of the sponsorship that I received in, that decade of time that I worked for this person.
That's amazing. And it's so important, right? So we understand that having a sponsor, or what I love, what Jesse said around like, who is your personal board, right, of people. So you had someone who pushed you and motivated you and stretched you, in areas that were important and helped you grow. And Jesse, how did that work for you? How did that mentor relationship impact how you, or sponsorship even, impact how your board of people helped you to this place?
So 7 years into my career, I had been making kind of this steady progression. Was really proud of myself, like where I had made it. And then I started to work for a VP I was at a medium-sized firm, and she was also on the board of directors. And this was a big step up for me in terms of a boss, right? And she was an incredibly busy woman. And so what she did very early on is spend a lot of mentorship time with me. And she helped me stretch in ways that I hadn't thought before. And she made me less of a tactical person and taught me the skills, the hard skills of being a leader, which are different. It's not just about your whole day. It does not become, okay, I got to do this and do this and do this. And the next promotion is going to be because I did these 20 things. When you start to get into those positions of leadership, it's really like it's a mindset shift, right? And so it's like, you don't go to your boss to say, how should I get this done? You go to your boss and you say, here are the 3 things that I think I should do. And she was really the person that helped me like ignite that type of thinking in my mind. And I'm forever grateful to her. Going back to my board of people, she's still on, right? I still talk to her. I still get coffee with her. And every now and then, I have a problem and I need a really strong strategic mind to talk through something with me. And so that is something that I also really encourage you is build these connections and try to, cherish them, nourish them, keep coming back to them, revisit them, sometimes move on from them as well. But, the other thing that mentorship has taught me is the importance of paying it back, right? That one really pivotal mentor in my career has inspired me to pay it forward. So I spend as much time as I can with, somebody says, hey, Jesse, we have a summer intern. Some people view it as like, we have a summer intern, will you take it? And I'm like, yes, give me the summer intern, right? It's about the brand new person to the company, sending them a really gracious onboarding email and welcoming them and telling them where the coffee is, right? And making sure you're paying those things forward. And then also promoting people to stretch, right? Promoting them, asking them provocative questions, where do you want to go in your career? How can I help you get there? And doing some of those things. So another thing, going back to one of the questions you asked earlier, like how does Accenture value diversity? One of the coolest programs that we have here is our apprenticeship program. And so I've also spent a good amount of time working with those resources. College degree is optional, which I think is a really cool thing that we're doing.
And that is all really impactful. And I know that both of you pointed to examples of having women or bosses in your life who pushed you to be a better version of yourself. But for a lot of our moms, they may not have someone in their life who's their direct boss that can give them that sponsorship or mentorship. So do you have any advice on how do they find someone that could mentor them? And what does that relationship look like? Like if I want someone who can inspire me to be the next Paula or Jesse, how do I find someone to help me do that?
I can start. And I met with our summer analysts, Jesse, to your point. I met with our summer analysts this week. And so my advice to them was show up. You're invited to a meeting. And this was with the summer analysts. It was optional to meet me as the office managing director, and about half of them showed up. Okay. 50%, you showed up. Great. And of the 50% that showed up, 50% put their camera on. Turn your camera on. Let me know what you look like. Let's have a discussion. And 50% asked a question. Engage. Ask questions. And then of all that, one of them reached out to me afterwards and asked if they could have a one-on-one discussion. I want more. I want them to reach out. I want you to show up. I want you to turn on your camera, or if the in-person option is there, go. and engage, ask a question, engage in the discussion. I think there are lots of forums and opportunities to take advantage of these things. Not everyone you meet is going to be a mentor. You may click, you may not click with them. You have to try out a lot of different people to fill those board seats. It's an exclusive position. You have to interview a lot of people. So I really think if you show up to the different opportunities, be conscious of there's lots of different opportunities. Because I know I go through stages where I'm like, I do not have another free second to do this extra thing. And I have to give myself a little pep talk. Okay, this is why I'm going to do this one little extra thing. This is needed, and this is why it's needed. I gotta give myself the pep talk. So give yourself the pep talk to show up and to engage. And then one more point, and Jesse, I think you really already made this, but I think it's really important, so I would echo it, is to model the behaviors you would like to have unto yourself. Mm-hmm. So I can control much more what I do for other people necessarily than what they can do for me. So be the mentor, the sponsor for other people, and lead by example. You can, whatever level you're at, you can lead by that example of helping others and sponsoring others.
Yeah, Paul, I think you made a great point. You have to try out a lot of people. You have to do a lot of interviews. You have to meet a lot of people before you actually can find the people that you click with. And so I would encourage, it took me a long time in my career to be bold enough to ask, right? Sometimes it takes a long time to just be like, oh, I don't know, that's like a really senior person. Like, are they going to talk to me? Like, yeah, actually they will, right? Like Paula just said, she would have talked to more than one person. She would have talked to maybe 3, 4, 5, 10. So
anyone who would have reached out.
Right, exactly. So do it, ask for the time. And then also, like Paula said, show up, but I'll take it one step further, make sure you come prepared, right? Have a question, have a way to engage with the person, check out their LinkedIn, look at, their internal profile, see if you can pick up on something, and start a conversation on a really positive note. So
I know you want to ask us another question, but I want to just pile on, Jesse. I do think like that introvert extrovert kind of thing is like, the extroverts are like, well, yeah, duh, no problem. The introverts are like, that is super hard. I don't want to, I don't care to, no. But I think your point about preparation really helps. So I'm 100% an introvert. These things don't come easy to me, but preparation makes them easier. And I love your point about like, just scan through somebody's LinkedIn. I promise you're going to find a thought-provoking question just from reading their LinkedIn. And then saying to them, I bothered to spend a minute of time and I looked you up on LinkedIn. And I saw that you went to X university, or I saw that you previously worked here, or I saw we have a mutual connection in X. Like there's so many, like 30 seconds, you could pick up a little nugget that helps if you're an introvert, because I'm bad at small talk. I'm bad at like, I don't know what to say. I don't really like people, whatever that, your excuse is. A little preparation goes a really long way.
And I got some nuggets from that myself. So one of the things that I heard was engage, show up prepared. And I also want to tell our community, don't be afraid to jump into someone's LinkedIn DMs and just say, because we might not have, right, a room we can show up into or a space or place where we can show up prepared. But you can always stalk a little on LinkedIn, find someone who inspires you and hop into their DMs. I have done it. Just bet on yourself, have a little courage, right, ladies? And you can do that. So I want to ask Jesse a question. You have so many expertise, your technology, compliance, logistics. Can you share with us a time in your career where you felt challenged or had some setbacks that really impacted you personally?
Yeah, so I'll go back to the thread of telling you the story of starting my business and having my child at the same time, right? When you run a startup, you are everybody. You're the operations person, the finance person, the HR person, the person who sends the mail, you have a lot of jobs, right? And as moms, we have a lot of jobs as well, right? We're the Easter bunny, we're the endless Uber driver, the grocery shopper, the laundry, the maid, everything, right? We have so many jobs. And so having all of those jobs at one time was really hard, and it was a really big challenge. And so what I will say, and that I decided early on, was to make sure that my family was non-negotiable. And I became an expert in scheduling. Like, I thought I was good before. I became a whole new level of good, right? And it was, making sure that I checked in with my mom once a day, even if I had 9 hours of meeting straight, right? Making sure that I showed up for breakfast with my son almost every day, right? And I would schedule this into my life, right? If someone would say, "Hey, are you free to take a 7:30 a.m. call?" Nope, I had breakfast with my son. I wouldn't say that to them. I would say, "No, I'm sorry, I'm not available at that time." But it helped me, stay centered around that concept the whole time, and really overcome the challenges that I had, which was just way too many responsibilities on my plate.
Thank you so much for sharing that, because I think that probably resonated with every woman in this room. Like, how many hats do we wear? We're moms, we are daughters, we are entrepreneurs, and we are workers, and we're all these things. And sometimes juggling that feels so stressful and overwhelming. And you saying to schedule it, have a routine, find your balance. You're a girl after my own heart. I am a planner to the death of me. I plan every little thing because it's so hard. Yes, yes, you are my person. And that's great advice. And Paula, how have you navigated that terrain? Because it's so many hats that we wear. And how have you found your balance? And we all know that there's no true balance, but how do you find your center? Maybe that's a better way of putting that.
Yes, I do believe that, once you find balance, something in your life changes and you have to start all over again. So it's a continuous process. I'd like to say, well, I did X, Y, and Z and I am balanced, but it never works that way. It's like you're always kind of reaching towards trying to get there. I did like what you said, Jesse, about how you schedule it in. I just talked last week to somebody who we check in quarterly, see how each other are doing. She's a very senior person. And she was like, how do you manage your time so that, you can stop working at a reasonable hour? I'm like, well, I just block it off on my calendar that I'm not working between 6 and 8. I'm not doing it. Sometimes I am done earlier, and sometimes I have to go back after 8 o'clock, but I'm not doing work between the hours of 6 and 8. And the key to being able to do that is doing a good job. If you are good at your job and you let people know, I can't work between these hours and mine is 6 to 8, maybe it's 12 to 2, maybe it's, whatever your time is that you can't work and you communicate that, hey, I am out between these hours. If you do a good job at your job, obviously there are some jobs with set hours, et cetera, right? But we're talking, kind of in a professional environment here where we have some amount of flexibility around when we work and when we don't work. Even clients, though, I would say I am not working between these hours. I am perfectly happy to meet you at 6 a.m. if that's what you need. And I'm perfectly happy to meet you at 8 p.m. But I can't do it between these hours because I have family responsibilities that require my full focus. And as an employer, if somebody comes to me and says that, I will take that all day long, as opposed to you quitting your job. I want for you to tell me what your boundaries are, and I want to help you respect those. I want to help others and help you respect those boundaries. So tell me. And, several years ago, I might not have said that, but now in the world that we live in with talent, and I need good talent, I want to know and help you respect what your boundaries are. But you have to define what they are. I can't define them for you. And people hesitate to define their boundaries in that, oh, I'm going to be, looked at as the person who doesn't work. I'm going to be, discriminated against, or I'm not going to do well in a performance review. And I don't believe in the majority of cases that to be the case. You have a boundary, you've defined what it is, why it is, and you're getting your job done and you're doing a good job. Any good environment, that's going to be a win.
I 100% agree with setting those boundaries. And they do start with you, moms. You set your boundaries. And if you want to show up for your kids and be there and vocalize it, speak up for yourself, say those things. It's okay. We're no longer in a place, like Paula noted or Jesse said, that your family can't come first. I'm going to share just a quick snippet of last night. I was feeling a little like all this week, I was working a whole lot. And I said to myself, I have a 7-year-old. I'm going to make her dinner. I'm going to shut my computer off at this time. And I did that. And for me, that was the best part of my day, because then I was able to show up fully to work because I knew I was going to have that time with her. And
not a single person got mad at you, did they?
Not a single no one even said like, hey, it's
What
7.
is wrong with you making dinner for your daughter? I can't believe the nerve of you.
No one did it. And yeah, so that's the thing. Like, I love that both of you. One, share that your families are first. And two, Paula, in your position to say, tell us how we can support you. That says it all. It can be your voice. You have strong voices in how you want to show up. So I thank you.
And I would say, I expect you're not going to take advantage of me, right? That's my going in expectation. You're not coming and telling me, well, I get paid 40 hours a week, but I would like to work 30, and this is how I'm going to do it, right? There's a line, but I can't think of a situation where I was working with a mom who was trying to balance it all, who was telling me, was trying to take advantage of that kind of situation. It was let's work this out. Let's figure out how we can make it work for everyone.
So that made me think about, there's been so much around mental health, the discussion of mental health, how to keep ourselves healthy. And it's a big conversation. I know in Accenture and, within TMP, how has the pandemic and the changing of just the way your world operates impacted the two of you, and how have you recharged or found some balance? Again, that word balance that I'm like, I'm not sure if there's a real thing about that, but I'm going to throw it out there. How have you found balance and been able to recharge, and how has it impacted you going through this journey of the pandemic? And we can start with you, Jessie.
Thank you. So for me, it was an abrupt adjustment going into the office 5 days a week, plus traveling to customers, to 100% at home. That was a big, just like, change, and it happened overnight, right? For many of us experienced that same story. And soon I found a silver lining, right? I missed less dinners. I was more available. I could see my son if a 15-minute gap opened in my day because I hung up a call early, where I could go take a sneak peek and watch him playing in the backyard. My son is 3.5, by the way, so he still only goes to preschool half day. So he's around, right? And I was able to kind of be around more with him and get many, many more moments. And so I really cherished that. But there was a dark side too. Your computer is always there. Your desk is set up. It's calling to you. It's saying, oh, you know what, just send that last email or prepare that last PowerPoint. And so kind of going back to the concept I said earlier of, having those boundaries, defining what they are, choosing how to spend your time. Paula also brought up such an important topic, which is that with the way we work these days, you can build a flexible schedule. I can take a 7:30 call, go have breakfast with my son, come back to work. I can sign offline at 4 o'clock, go see his soccer game, make dinner, and then get back online and work a tail end of my day. I feel privileged that I get to work with so many teams around the world because I'm working on a global project with a global client. I have people, in Argentina and India, Poland, the US, right? And so I can experience many different cultures, but also I can build more flexibility into my schedule, right? Because I can take, a late call or early call, but not taking them on the same day, right? Like, let's avoid the early calls and late calls together. That was the hard part. That was the dark side of the pandemic, that, you just had like, oh, sure, 12, 14-hour day. Like, that's easy, to do and tempting, but also really not healthy, right? And not a good way. So to spend your time. So, and I highly, highly recommend that you find a way to fit exercise into your life. I really do. That is also penciled into my calendar. And I have to say the last 2 weeks, I haven't been too good about it. I've just been maximum busy. But I think that it is a really important thing that if there's anything you can do, run around in the backyard with your kids or take a walk around the block with them. But try to find time for that because it really does improve your mental health and also just kind of like and taking vacations too. So you can really recharge and you'll come back to your work and to your family with a new mindset. So, all right.
No, that was good. I appreciate that wealth of knowledge that you've been giving us around taking care of yourself, even in those moments of uncertainty. So thank you for sharing that. And Paula, how was it for you? Like, I know it was such a, quick change. It was a scary time. We all have these things we had to do, pivot. How did that affect you? And how did you find a way to recharge?
Sure. So I would echo what Jesse said. There were pros and there were cons. In a very practical example of what you said, I am in the East Coast time zone, and the majority of my team sits in the Central time zone. And pre-pandemic, I operated one way with how I kind of ran things. I very quickly learned that I needed to not sit down to work at 7 a.m. Eastern time when the majority of my team wasn't coming on until 9 a.m. Eastern time, which was 8 a.m. their time. And I adjusted my schedule to force myself into a workout routine that was, I am going to work out at 7 a.m. and then I'm going to take a shower and then I am going to be camera ready by 9 a.m. Eastern time, which was really, I'm just very much a work early person and not work late person. So to do that and make that transition and like hold myself accountable to I'm not starting work until 9 a.m. was hard. It was hard for me to do. But it became clear I needed to do that because I was not going to have the time on the back end. Most of my calls were going late because that's just the time zone that the majority of the people I needed to talk to were in. But it has worked out, and I've carried that piece forward. And even though it may not be perfect as far as how I would like it to be the reverse. But it's working, and I'm forcing myself to keep with that sort of schedule. Because if I sat down at 7 a.m. Eastern time, I was still going to go till 7 p.m. Eastern time. And it was too much. And I just couldn't do it. And you start to get that burnout kind of feel. But so that was good. That was a good, kind of compromise that I made for myself and held myself to it. The other thing that I have the privilege of is that I have an admin that helped me. She was like, nope, she can't do a call before 9 a.m. Sorry about your luck. Right? Definite privilege to have someone help you, keep you accountable for those things. So I will give props to that. I had extra help in that regard, but it goes back to that boundaries thing with you share with people. This is what I'm doing. This is why I'm doing it. People will support you in that. They really will. I think take the chance and share with people what you're doing and why you're doing it. And they become invested in you. They want to help you be successful. But the other component was travel. And I did travel a lot pre-pandemic, probably just about every week. And so not traveling was hard to figure out how to connect with clients and how to do all of those things. That was a hard part of my job. But I will tell you, it's been hard now for me to begin reincorporating it into my life. And like, how did I do that? How did I get dressed every day and get on a plane and go to a different city and navigate that and still take care of my family? I'm forgetting how to do that and how to reintegrate it into my life. I had a lot more help. I had backup plans. I had a lot more things in place that have gone, that I'm trying now to figure out more deliberately, what do I allow back in and how do I do that? Do I really need to travel to go to a 1-hour meeting? I really don't think I do. and figuring that out. So it's a different set of boundaries now maybe than where I was before. So not sure if it's a pro or a con, but it's a reality of my life right now.
No, I think that's a con in itself too. Is what I heard you say was life was so like life was lifing is like what I like to say, right? So life was lifing pre-pandemic. It slowed down for you, and then how you now are integrating work and your life balance, you're getting to do from a place of intention, and that's beautiful. That's a power we all didn't have before because we were just kind of in the swing of things. So you gave us all that great information, but how do you recharge, Paula? Like, what do you do to pull yourself back to center? Like, what are your things?
Yeah, so sometimes it's just saying no. So I like, the internal voice that I use is just because I can doesn't mean I should. And sometimes that saying no is really hard, and sometimes you feel like you're missing out, and being able to get over that feeling of I missed out on something, but it's okay because it was better for my mental health, it was better for my family, it was better for what it might have been. Back to your point about you shut it down and you made dinner, like nobody was mad at me that I didn't go. I am mad at me for not, I'm the one who has to be okay with the decisions that I make and why I make them. It's me, not somebody else. And that recollection of, okay, if I don't go do this X, Y, or Z that someone wants me to do, who's going to be mad about it? No, nobody. I'll be on video. It's fine. Or, we'll schedule it next week and it's fine. It's the, don't be your hardest critic on all of these things. Now, I would go back to, I think that you need to eat well. I think you need to exercise, and I think you need to sleep well. Those things have to happen as well, and finding the time in your schedule to do them is super important. But don't be your hardest critic. That's you don't need to.
I'm just going to say that I'm going to come back to you and have you teach all of us a whole class on how to say no. That alone, like, Jesse, are you good at saying no? Because I am not a good no girl. Are you a good no girl, Jesse?
Oh, you have to learn it. It is a very important skill, especially, I felt when you become a mom, you have a 24/7, 365 job that never ends, that your brain it never turns off. Like you could be in a meeting and suddenly remember like, oh my gosh, I got to do those camp registration forms by tomorrow. Like your mom brain like never shuts off. So yes, saying no is a skill that you have to learn in order to be able to do it well. I say this so much, you cannot take care of others if you don't take care of yourself. You can't take care of your responsibilities at work. You can't take care of your family. You can't take care of your extended family, right? You really have to do that and focus on yourself. And sometimes that involves saying no.
You're both right. So what I'm going to do is do a part 2 on how do we say no? Because I know that a lot of us are, we struggle in that area. We're not, all of that muscle hasn't been built in all of us. So I'm going to roll these 2 questions into one. I know I've eaten up all the time, but I want to give our great audience a chance to ask you guys questions too. So I'm going to roll these 2 things into one. Let's see if I can do it. Parents, since you're both parents, you both have families, how has Accenture been for you as moms? And is there flexibility in the benefits and anything that you can share with us around why being a mom at Accenture is the right choice? And then after you give us that right choice, because I want both of you to answer, tell us any parting advice you would give us as well. So I know I just rolled those things into 2, but I think you guys got it. Can you handle it?
Absolutely. I'm going to write it down just so.
You're going to write it down. Give us some parting advice after you answer. Being a working mom at Accenture, the flexibility, the work-life integration, how has that been a great experience for you? And why should our other moms make that choice?
So, Paula, I'd love to start if that's okay.
Please.
No, please.
So since I joined 10 months ago, I really went through this like soul searching. Like, is this the place for me? Is this the right place? And, Paula talked about this earlier in the conversation, but seeing the value that Accenture puts into diversity, writing it down, running their business that way, a welcome culture for parents, phenomenal benefits for moms and dads, but great maternity leave, excellent policies, daycare reimbursement. If you're traveling for a client, you can ship your breast milk home to your kid. I mean, really, like they have it all. And so that was really important to me. And I highly encourage anyone that's interested to check out the website and read more about it. But also going back to what I was talking about earlier with the flexible schedule, that is a real possibility here. You can pick a project that works for you. You can be, like Paula mentioned, pick a project in your time zone, right? I'm in Chicago. I knew I didn't want to take a West Coast time project because then I would miss dinner every single night. And I was able to. I had such a wide variety of choice that I was really able to make those decisions and pick what fit best for me and for my schedule. So that I guess would be my parting advice, is really figuring out how to do it all by writing it down, scheduling it, making your goals, and driving your calendar accountable to what you want.
I love that. So what we just learned is Accenture is relatively the place to be, guys, outside of TMP. And we have a landing page that you can visit as well. And there's all these jobs and great fits. And we want you guys to go visit. So please go look at what Accenture has to offer, because it sounds like it's the place to be. Paula, how would you add to that?
So the one point I want to make is that I think that things have gotten better at Accenture. I don't know other places. I'm the boring one who stayed here the whole time. But I think it's gotten better when we recognize it's about dads too. Moms and dads both want the same thing, which is to, be able to prioritize their family when it makes sense to do so. And so we had parental leave for dads of 2 weeks of paid leave. And when we first put that in, nobody took it. They're like, oh, no, I will be judged for that. I couldn't possibly do that. And I feel like the pandemic helped us turn the corner, even for the dads. People take their parental leave now and nobody's upset about it. I mean, maybe there's that old guy over there who is, I don't know, but he's in the minority now.
He doesn't count.
Right? I mean, and if he does, he can't say it out loud because he knows that, that's not going to be tolerated anymore. And so the dads now kind of get it more, I feel like. And that helps the moms be able to do what they need to do. So it's like it's not like, oh, well, she's a mom, she needs to go do that. Everybody has responsibilities. Everyone has priorities. Everyone has things that are important to them. It's not just, it's a mom thing. It's everybody. And I really think that goes a long way. And Jesse, you did a great job enumerating all of the benefits, and they're great. I don't think I ever said I have a 13-year-old and a 20-year-old. So I have kind of 2 children that have a bit of a gap, almost 2 only children. And I am jealous because younger people with younger kids, the benefits have increased so much. It's so awesome. The things that we all have the ability to take advantage of. And I would just say, though, as a mom, the flexibility is what is important to me. I was at a dinner last night and somebody was talking about, well, what we really need is the 4-day work week and everyone needs to work 4 10s. Like, well, maybe some people need that, but I don't want to work 4 10s. Like, I need to take advantage of the time when my daughter is at school to be working, where she's otherwise occupied and I know she's safe and taken care of. I don't want to give up that time on the Friday that I'm now not supposed to work. Somebody else might think 4 10s is the greatest thing ever, but give me some flexibility, and the choice and the ability to choose that is what I want from my employer. And so that is what I'm most thankful for at Accenture, is that we have that level of responsibility. And Jesse, again, you did a good job of kind of enumerating what some of those choices look like. But my parting advice, I think you already gave them, which is bet on yourself. If you do a good job, I do a good job at my work, they want me to stay. They're going to work with me. The worst thing that's going to happen if you say, I would really like to be able to do whatever it is that you need to, whether it's a flexible work schedule, whether it's a one-time thing, the worst that's going to happen is someone's going to say, no, that doesn't work. Okay, I asked, it didn't work. Now you may ask and they say no, and they say no and they say no. Maybe it's time to get a new job. Maybe you need to look someplace else and find that flexible work environment. I just encourage you to bet on yourself. If you do a good job, people want to work with you. They want you to stay. They want you to be able to achieve success. So bet on yourself.
I love that. I have it written.
No, I stole it from you just now.
I literally have it written on my monitor on my computer. Bet on yourself. That is my thing. So I love that you're telling women, please bet on yourself. Dads, bet on yourself. Everybody, we're a collective in this. So I want to be able to take some questions because I would eat up all of your time. I really would. I have more questions I want to ask you, but I know that our audience is as well. So if we can share some of those questions, that would be great. Okay, so they want to know, what is the parental leave like at Accenture? And I did what you did, Paula. I'm one of those, I have two only children. I have a 21-year-old and I have a 7-year-old. So I feel you. And when you're taking parental leave, when you've done those huge gaps, what does that look like?
I'm trying to get at, is the question more, well, you may not know, but like the time away, or how do you integrate back? I mean, there's, I guess, a lot of different ways. We have parental leave, which is for adoptee parents, and for dads, which is different than maternity leave of absence. And it differs by country. Jesse, you probably know what it is in the US. I haven't had a baby in a while, but
I haven't had a baby here yet. I think it's 16 weeks.
I think it's 16 weeks as well. So if we both think that, it must be correct. It's a lot of time, I think. Yes, when I had my kids, it was 12 weeks. So it's increased. And then the dad leave, I believe, is 2 weeks. But then the other thing that I was able to do, I did do my 12 weeks. And then I kind of did a bridge back where I worked, I worked part-time in the kind of a 3-month period to ease myself back into the world. Pre-COVID, we also had some policies around not having new moms travel for a year. That's kind of out the window now, but there's not a lot of traveling that's going on. But some policies like that just to help women, moms, reintegrate back into the workforce.
Okay, so 16 weeks, a bridge back into it, and some flexibility around your schedule. I think that's it in a nutshell. So we have more questions, I'm sure. Let's see. Are there account management or customer success management opportunities? And I don't know if you guys know all the opportunities that are there, or do you want to just point them in the right direction?
Yes, so there certainly are. We have account management roles. We have customer service role and customer, things that are about helping customers be successful, all of those sorts of things. And they're all posted at Accenture.com. And you can find the right tab across the top and go to employment opportunities. And all of that is posted. It's by location, by requirements, all sorts of different ways you can filter all of the things that are out there.
Yep. And I think Ela just shared our landing page with Accenture in our comments. So please feel free to hit that link and find what opportunities are there. And I did see a question I'm just going to randomly answer in the chat. Are there positions available all across the United States? Accenture has positions all over the world. So feel free to look all across, from coast to coast and all around the world. Are positions available? Yes. They are, and all around the world. Jesse, can you share one of your challenges working in project management and how you've overcome it?
Great question. I was actually coaching someone on this last week. The hardest part of project management is starting. It's the new thing, right? It's, you've got, there's like a storming period when you form a team, where it's all awkward. It's like, are you doing this? Am I doing this? Like, who's doing this? Like, are we setting the schedule? Like, hey, we should check in. We haven't talked in a week, right? And it's like getting all those mechanics going. So when I start something new, I put a lot of focus on that and try to get the team to a performing state as quickly as possible. And then I would say another really big challenge with project management is when you finally build the product or deliver the activity and it's time to roll it out to the bigger audience, you have a lot of challenges with getting people to adopt change. The first reaction, human reaction to change, is anger. So sometimes you're like, okay, guys, we're doing a new, maybe you're rolling out a new time system. Everyone is like running around with their hair on fire. How are we gonna, oh my gosh, this isn't gonna work. And so it's really about having a good plan, showing confidence in what you've done and what you've delivered, and making everyone feel like they can trust you to take them through the change with them. We could have a whole session on project management.
We could, because I have so many questions that I could ask just around that. And I appreciate you ladies so much. We're going to wrap it up. We're at our hour. It came so quickly. This was probably, I've done so many of these sessions. This was probably my favorite. Don't tell anyone. Although this is being recorded, I think everyone will know. You guys are my favorite. So we want to thank you so much for the lessons that we've learned today. I have personally learned some. I hope all of you have some takeaways that are impactful. Please visit our landing page with Accenture. Please visit Accenture.com to find all the information that you also need there. Remember, this was recorded, and I'm going to go ahead and put these ladies on the hook and see if we can get a number 2. Can we get a number 2, Jessie and Paula? Are you guys
anytime.
Anytime.
Okay.
Anytime for the Mom Project.
Yes. I'm taking that. I'm going to hold you ladies to it. But thank you so much. Again, thank you all for joining us. Have a wonderful day.
Have a pleasure. Bye. Have a great weekend, everyone.